So I want to take you to the spring of 1996. It's the spring of 1996, and I'm just about to graduate from Lakehead University studying outdoor recreation. Now, I'm studying to be a camp director in my mind because that's all I've ever wanted to be. And I hear about a job that's opening up in the London, Ontario area at a nonprofit camp that serves kids with disadvantaged youth in the London area. And so I travel south for the interview. I go through the process, and I end up getting the job. I am super, super excited. This is exactly what I've always wanted to do, be a camp director. This is allowing me to follow my life's passion, which is summer camp, and work full-time in camping. So after I go back to school, I still have, a semester to do, and I decide to start asking some questions so I can prepare for the summer. And the questions I ask are, what I think are simple questions. How many returning staff are coming back to the camp? What's the program like? What's the budget like? How's camp run? The answers are somewhat disconcerting. One returning staff member. The entire board of directors is also new. They're having a fresh start, and apparently I'm in charge of this fresh start. That's a little bit iffy. You can run camp however you want. You create the program. You hire the staff as long as it fits into the budget. Now this is super, super, super exciting. Super crazy to leave me in charge of all that. But the exciting part is this idea that this is what I've always wanted, is to create a camp the way I wanted camp to run. I'm super excited by this. I was not ready for the summer of 1996. The camp I worked at served disadvantaged children, and they paid $15 to come to camp for 13 days. The rest was all funded through other sources. The first session, we had 96 kids show up on the bus. And at the end of that session, 13 days later, 60 kids went home on the bus. In the intervening 13 days, I sent home 36 kids. 36 kids. Bullying, behaviors we just couldn't manage, a wide variety of issues. ADHD kids on medicine vacations, never a good idea. We had kids attacking my staff with baseball bats, had to send them home too. Out of the staff I hired that summer, around 30 staff members, 20 which were specifically counselors, we ended up that summer firing 12 of them. And for a wide variety of reasons. The story that really epitomizes that summer for me is it's the third last day of camp, and two staff get into a fist fight in front of campers. And it comes to my attention as a camp director. and I do a bit of research. We'd had some trouble with the one staff, and we determined it was him who had instigated, and the other guy was just self-defense. So we fired that guy with 3 days left in the summer. And at this point, I'm just praying that the summer ends, right? Like, just get it over with. I call on a buddy. That summer, I called a lot of favors in. I called on a buddy to come out to camp for the last 3 days, and he comes and fills in. And he fills in this cabin, and it's a challenging cabin, especially with Billy. Billy's a camper in that cabin who has a wide variety of issues, and we'd had trouble with over the course of that week. And my buddy comes, and he fills in, and he does a great job. And 3 days later, we're standing there. Me and my buddy are standing there, and we're waving at the kids as they're getting on the buses, getting ready to leave. And in my mind, I'm thinking, thank God. And my buddy is talking to me the whole time about how he really connected with Billy, how he made a difference, and he really felt like Billy opened up to him, and he really got attached to Billy. And just then, I noticed the buses are starting to roll out very slowly, and I noticed Billy in the back of the bus. Billy sees me. Billy sees my buddy. Then Billy gives us a finger. That's the summer of 1996. The summer camp gave me the finger, essentially. That summer has really shaped everything I've done for the next 20 years. I realized in creating this talk that that's exactly 20 years ago. And it's really shaped everything I did. It really guided me to it created the two questions that have guided me ever since. And those two questions are, one, How do I make sure that a summer that unsuccessful never happens again? And 2, how can I create a culture of success at camp that benefits the campers and the staff members? Reflecting on those questions has led me to realize that summer camp is really a unique setting. A unique setting where you can form an independent society that runs by its own set of rules. We're removed from the regular. It's a place where I can test out ideas, what works, what doesn't work. And there's very little outside influence to cloud the waters as we move forward. And every summer, I can take what works and what didn't work and remove what I need to, and then do another test the next summer. And you do this enough, and in theory, you get to, a culture of success. That's the theory. In theory, it should be easy, right? It should be really simple. You hire the right people, you give them a common cause, and you give them training on doing what needs to be done, and that will help create a culture of success which shows summer campers the most amazing summer camp experience. You want to create a place at camp where people want to be, both the campers and the staff members. You want to create a place that is safe, is meaningful, and somewhat magical. You want to create a place where staff can learn and staff can grow and be successful. You want to create this place and you want to give them that experience. That's really what we want to do at camp. Create a utopia where the challenges of the world are easily overcome. Reality is a much, much different thing. Reality brings people. Reality brings agendas. Reality brings emotions. Reality brings a lot of things that don't show up on paper when you write this out. Over the 20 years, I've realized that creating a culture of success is really a journey. It's a journey I've been on, and as I move forward, there's lots of lessons we can learn from this journey. I only took time, there's many, many lessons. I could talk for hours about camp, and have many times. But let's focus on 3 key lessons today. The first lesson is, even when you're not in control, you can affect positive change to help create a culture of success. Years ago, I got hired at a private camp. And private camps come with this thing known as the owner. And the owner is the person who owns the camp. And so at this camp, the owner had a lot of different ideas, and he made a bunch of decisions that I probably wouldn't have made had I been in charge. Right? I would have probably not made those decisions, but it's his camp, his ideas, his best intentions. And I had a program director that summer who took exception to a lot of those decisions and wanted to confront the owner. At a private camp, rule number 1, the owner is always going to win, right? That's why they own the camp. And so I sat the program director down and I said to him, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Okay? You ready? Give me some answers. Is this your camp? Obvious answer is no, it's not his camp. Okay? Are these decisions adversely affecting camper safety? The answer again was no. They might not have been the decisions I would make, but they certainly weren't decisions that were affecting camper safety. The third question is, can you live with these decisions? That's not such an easy answer. I said, so if you can't live with these decisions, you need to move on. Because I'm done listening to you day in and day out harp about these issues. I said, if you can live with these decisions, you need to stay and help affect positive change where you can. That idea, affect positive change where you can, is something that has really stayed with me over the years. It's really one of my life's mantras. When I can't do something, when I'm not in charge and I can't have final say, I always think to myself, affect positive change where I can. Even though I can't do everything I want to do, I can still do something. Even when you're not in charge, you're not the person, and we hear that all the time in schools, in companies, in workplaces, and in teams. It's not up to me. Well, in reality, creating a culture of success is up to you through your words, your demeanors, and your actions, and affecting positive change where you can. The second lesson I want to share today is this idea that once you see what a culture of success is, you're much more able to recreate it. And the funny part is you don't see a culture of success with your eyes more than feel it here. You know when you've been part of something amazing. Am I right? Like it's just, oftentimes it's here and you're like, that was awesome. And sometimes from summer camp, it doesn't happen until October or November because you lived through it. And then in October and November, you're like, oh, that was awesome. And as camp directors, we know that. We know that we're going to give you 2 months to get over the hassles of the summer so that you remember the positives of the summer. So my first summer camp directing experience would have been just prior to the earlier story, the year before. I was asked by the camp I grew up at, I was asked to come back and help them get back to the good old days. It was a summer camp that had some challenges and had taken a couple of steps back. And I'd been on staff in a camper when things were really, really good. And so the board of directors said, we would like you to offer that back to campers. And knowing what made camp special for me, it was much easier for me to share that with campers and staff members when I got there. And in reality, this idea of seeing a culture of success, because I'd seen it, I'd lived it, I know how to share it. That summer, this is the story that really stuck with me. 2 weeks into that summer, our summer camp was hit with the Norwalk virus. Now, if you don't know about the Norwalk virus, or what they now call it, the norovirus, it involves a lot of puke and diarrhea and a variety of other things that happen. In less than 24 hours, 75% of our campers and staff had to leave for the rest of the session. In that time, a couple of buddies of mine from those glory days at camp offered to come to camp and help us out, knowing that we would be short-staffed by sending everyone home. And it was amazing to watch people who knew what a culture of success looked like come and just snap back into it. They're 3, 4, 5 years removed. They came back, they ran games, they created games, they entertained the healthy and the not so healthy. They led staff and campers through programs that were just off the top of their head. Or seemed like they were off the top of their head, right? They'd already lived it. And it was amazing to watch them do this, to watch them bring it back to life, even in the midst of 3 health inspectors on site, numerous board members on site, and 150 parents picking up campers and staff members as this was going on. Once you know what a culture of success feels like, it's much easier to recreate it. And you'll also know when you're not part of one, because you won't feel that. I'm not saying it can happen everywhere, but it's that idea that once you know what amazing is, shouldn't you try and bring amazing to everything you do? The third point is this idea that the theory of creation is much different than the reality of creating. Back to that summer of 1996. You know, the summer where camp gave me the finger. That summer was based in theory, right? I was a university student, just recent grad. I had all the theories in the world. That's what school teaches you, is a lot of theory. That's what it is. The next summer, the summer of 97, I went back to the same camp and I was director again. And I had one of the best summer camp experiences of my life. I changed the way we trained staff. I focused a lot on team building and community. I had the staff play together and focus on keeping campers as their big focus, their #1 priority. I really had the staff come together and understand that what we were doing was something different. That summer, I didn't fire a single staff member. Remember, the summer prior, we had fired 12 out of 20 counselors. That summer, I had 1 staff member quit with 3 days left in camp. And he quit because he felt he let us down and he let the campers down. And I tried to convince him to stay. I was like, dude, there's only 3 days left. We don't think you did anything wrong. You're awesome. And it wasn't part of his moral fiber. and to say that, and he did go. I had moved from theory to reality, right? The theory of creation to the reality of creating. It's a much different thing on paper than it is in the real world, right? When you create something, you have to adjust to all of those personalities and agendas and other things that come and take part of what you're doing. Over 20 years being a camp director, I've had to redefine again and again and again what theory has taught me about success and what the reality of creating successful teams, successful workplaces, and successful societies is. On paper, creating a culture of success is really easy. In reality, creating a culture of success is much more exciting. Thank you.